Hi everybody, I'm Anna Kachikyan, and this is the Anna Report, where every Wednesday I sit with you guys and we discuss dating and relationships. And this week we're not discussing dating and relationships. We are going to be discussing the Armenian Revolution. I have a lot to say. We have a guest. Check this out. I have a guest coming on, and she just got back to the States from Armenia. She just happened to be there when this whole thing happened. I want her to tell us everything that's happening. All right, cheers. What is everybody drinking? I'm having a Stella because I need a cold drink. I'm thirsty. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you guys a rundown of everything that has happened in Armenia, and then we're gonna bring Tatevic on. All right, what happened was, the people are fed up with the corrupt government. The problem was that their voices and their freedom had gone dormant for far too long. Then comes a generation of students, and when I say students, they're 20, max 30 years old, who are doing it right. They're great citizens. However, they themselves find themselves in a country that is depriving them of their growth, of their future. They also realize that they have nothing to lose. Literally, they have nothing to lose. When they look towards their future, they see darkness. So when you have that sort of feeling of, I have nothing to lose, they wake up. They wake the fuck up. They've always been awake, they just were 10 years old, right? They were just 10 years old. This revolution couldn't have happened 10 years ago or before. It could only happen now because this generation of kids, they're 20 and above, they're cognizant, they're old enough, they get it. The post-Soviet generation. So this is actually something important to know, that this is the post-Soviet generation because Armenia was part of the Soviet Union. I have the KGB sitting right here, all right? She's like on top of my ass right now. These kids, they are not dormant. They're aware that their government is corrupt. They're fully aware of their government shit. They're educated. They're reading books. They are seeing how others are living in other countries around the world. And they're like, wait a minute, why? Why do we have to flee our homeland for a better life when it's just a bunch of cockroaches who are ruining it for all of us? So the revolution begins. The government in Armenia has many different political parties. This is what it seems to me, okay? If you're rich, you're like, oh, I'm gonna create my own political party because basically it's like a mafia. They want to be in on the cool kids meeting. That's what I'm getting from all of this, okay? My personal opinion. It's like, why the fuck does that guy have his own political party with his own last name? Like, who the hell is he? He's a businessman. Why does he belong to or own a political party? It's weird. Corruption. Then there is the Yelk party, which is led by Nicole Pashinyan. You're probably wondering, what the fuck, Nicole? His name is Nikolai. He goes by Nicole, right? Nikolai. But I'm not going to say Nicole, right? Because it sounds like it's like part of the mafia, but Nicole is not. What the fuck did I just do?
What are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about, you fucking cockroach.
Nicole is a citizen of Armenia. He is a former editor-in-chief. He's a proud journalist. He's a great man. And someone who has never been afraid to speak up against the corruption. I mean, there are countless hours of videos of Nicole literally just obliterating these cockroaches, right? But at the time, they were made fun of Nicole. They were like, who's this, basically, he's 42 years old, and the corrupt government, when I look around, there's a bunch of old farts, and they're like, who's this kid, right? And they would laugh at him. Well, who's laughing now, bitches? Then Nicole and a very small group of his supporters organized a march. It must have been before April 13, right? I don't know exactly when, where they basically started camping and going around into Armenians' towns, encouraging people to join in on their march. And if you guys have seen pictures that I've posted of Nicole, he's got like the camo shirt with a backpack. He hasn't got rid of the backpack because he's been camping for God knows how long around the city. And they actually, there was an interview where they asked him about the backpack, where they show us what you have in there. He did, and then they asked him, what's the most used item in your backpack? And he said the selfie stick. That's my favorite. Anyways, so he goes around, and these people are marching for hours and days and miles. I mean, ridiculous amount. Like, it's so much marching that they called it the Nicole Fitness, and since they've started, Nicole has lost 40 pounds. What? So then they're walking, and Tatevic is going to help me out with this, is suddenly people begin to join in. Even a stray dog, Kylo, joined in on this march. And it was a peaceful march, and it was just like them walking, stray dogs join them, other people join them, other people join them, other people join them, and then turns into this revolution, and suddenly the entire nation, including the diaspora, is awake, no longer dormant. And everybody's like, what the fuck just happened? Through perseverance, the people, which is the giant, okay, woke up. The giant has been woken. And the giant is not the government. The giant are the people. Nicole Pashinyan and his small group of supporters were able to wake an entire nation and the diaspora. You're probably wondering what the fuck is a diaspora, especially if you were born and raised in this country. The diaspora is basically all me. I'm the diaspora, right? I'm born and raised in Armenia, but I moved to America, and I'm also American. Armenians are all over the world. You will find an Armenian anywhere you go. We are all over the place, hence the corrupt government. Everybody got the fuck out of there. Now, Armenians around the world are astounded by the people, like me, here, all me. I'm like, what? What is happening? The giant woke up. And then also, as far as the diaspora go, I think there's this guilt of leaving the motherland, and everybody who was born and raised there was this guilt of wanting to contribute and be a part of this huge revolution, this huge awakening. And this is where Pashinyan and his young supporters are so genius. Okay, let me tell you why these kids are so genius. They have embraced social media and the World Wide Web. They have embraced universal communication. They are not limiting themselves to just Armenians and Armenia alone. They have encouraged the world to share and monitor their events. And it's been so unbelievable to watch what they are doing over there. You're like, holy shit. Imagine if that was here. I have watched countless dumbest hours of paparazzi footage of just D-list celebrities being bombarded with questions or for autographs. I have never seen so many hundreds and thousands of civilized human beings approaching Nicole and being so normal, to ask for a selfie, to give a hug. And I'm like, oh, so humanity can't be normal. What? First on their agenda for Nicole and the people, the giant, they're on there to overthrow the prime minister, okay? The big bad wolf. The big bad wolf, the prime minister, gets overthrown. So mission accomplished, woohoo, everyone's so excited. But now the people are even more resilient and determined ever. At this point, when he resigned, it was this sense of power had come over the people that they had never experienced before. The elders had never experienced it before, and the young people were like, oh, so this is doable. Second victory is to overthrow the corrupt ruling party, which is the Republican Party, right? And this is the house where the big bad wolf and his entire family lives. And the third victory is to appoint a prime minister of their choice. Who do the people want? And naturally, the obvious, most obvious candidate, obviously, is the people's choice and pride and joy, Nicole Pashinyan. You know, the guy with the backpack and the camo shirt. Yep, everybody who loves him, wants him. The diaspora. Why not? Throughout this entire process, it's been exactly 20 days since they went public with this revolution. They started April 13, right? Friday the 13th. Yes, peaceful demonstrations every single day. I mean, you guys, the footages have been, I can't even begin to explain to you what it does to you to watch something like this. And I think it's so important that everybody does watch it. The people have shown humanity. They have shown unity. To witness such love, it makes me so hopeful for our country here in America. And the elders have joined because they realize that it'll be weakness on their end to not support the youth. So now you've got the youth, you've got the elders, you've got the entire country in support of this change. The giant has woken. This is a country where it's had long reputation for, temper issues, violence, corruption, fraud. They're just these really nasty stereotypes about Armenians. And I realized through experiencing these demonstrations, these stereotypes were created by the government and not by the real people of Armenia. The real people of Armenia are nothing like those stereotypes that have infiltrated people's mentality about the Armenian people. Absolutely not true. As I watch and I learn and feel, all these great emotions about how humans can be so kind to one another, I can't help to question humanity in the United States. I watch what's happening in Armenia, and then I watch the news in here, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Ultimately, I'm Armenian-American, so I'm just as much American as I am Armenian, so therefore I can speak on both ends. And so this got me to think a lot about this. And I had this idea where, one can argue that that's not going to happen in America because of diversity, because, therefore we can't have such unity because there are just way too many different kinds of people living in one place together. You just can't have that sort of familiarity with strangers. I thought about this a lot, and I used to agree, or maybe I used to agree for the sake of an excuse to just kind of shove it under the rug. However, after this experience, I begin to think about how the Armenian people are able to demonstrate such humanity, peace, and unity. And here's how I made the connection. How can we do that here? The internet. The internet makes the world feel very small. It becomes a global place. If we as a people we think globally, then we should be able to see humans as people and not a color, a race, or a religion. And I know this is almost delusional for me to think about it, but it was also, even when I thought about this ever happening in Armenia, I thought I was being delusional too. But however, the people have shown that if you focus on just people, you can accomplish it. And so ultimately, I think what's wrong here in this country is we don't look at people as just people. We're not like, you're a human being, let me give you a hug. I'm telling you, I've watched countless hours of people in Armenia. I have never seen anything like that in my life. Like strangers walking down the street and hugging one another. Complete strangers, saying hello, embracing each other, helping each other, all because they are people. So it was just about people helping people and people being with people. So if they can do that in such corruption, this shift can happen with the internet because, like I said, this is what Armenia did. Armenia took the internet and social media and made it so global so that everybody can relate to this human story. Hi, Tatevic. So good to meet you.
Yeah, I know we talked on the phone, but
just to let everybody know, Tatevic and I do not know each other. We are literally just meeting for the first time. We only spoke on the phone and online.
Yep.
And she reached out to me because she said that she had just gotten back from Armenia. And you said that you went to Armenia before this whole thing happened, and then it broke out, and then you found yourself in the middle of it, and then you joined in on the whole protest, and then you came back to the States.
Yep.
So I want to know, I have so many questions. Tell me what happened.
I actually ended up going, I think I landed on like the 15th. It was not even a thing. So when I landed, you know, my brother came to pick me up, and he kind of told me about it, and I'd been following, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't think anyone took it as seriously as it slowly progressed. The city's totally okay, nothing's happening. And then come day 2, day 3, day 4, and things are starting to escalate. And it started to escalate, I think, here's kind of the lowdown from being someone who was physically there. What ended up happening was, I think, and rightfully so, I think people were worried that all these protesters and all of these people were going just because there was a leader, right? There was someone that was there to do it for them, and they were just going for the cause. And the more, I think people were very hesitant to join in at first because they weren't sure if there was an alternative agenda. They weren't sure if it was for real. They didn't know if this was going to be just another protest where people would get hurt. They didn't know.
And when you say these people, are these people the elderly, like the older generation, or students
so
too?
Originally it was mostly younger generation, but I think it was, you're right, like elderly people were like, oh crap, this has happened before, what do we do? I don't know. And even the younger kids were like, dude, this is so, you're doing it because it's trendy thing to go protest. And then the more the rhetoric changed, and the more people were able to communicate properly. And like you said,
how did the rhetoric change? What was that shift?
I think that shift happened once people realized that there really was a chance that the prime minister may resign. Like, I think there was this moment, probably, I want to say, day 4 after I went, right before the press conference. People had already started huddling in the tens of thousands, right? Once the press conference happened between Kachikyan and the prime minister at the time, he dug his own grave. And when he did that, he confirmed to people that he was guilty, not that people didn't already know, but that he was guilty beyond belief of things that had happened before. He was guilty of using people to his own advantage and keeping funds away from the people, keeping funds for his own good, putting people in parliament who have no right in anyone's sense of mind to be in parliament whatsoever. And so that's when, I think, a couple days in is when my whole family and myself were like, we're going. And it also made a difference. So
how did the message come out? Like, when you say we're going, how did you know where you were going?
It was all over social media. I mean, my cousins are huge activists there. And so everyone was passing along the message. You talked about the youth being 20 to 30 earlier. It's interesting because in 2008, there was another protest that happened over electricity charges being super high. Oddly enough, I happened to be there that year too. And so I just happened to be there for all the protests. And that year when I was there, and the people I see now and that are protesting, in 2008, when there were other protests happening, the people who are protesting now, 10 years ago, were kids. They didn't feel like they had a voice. And at the time, the elderly, I think, because of their past and their experiences, felt like they needed to push down a lot of these kids' opinions, because out of fear of them getting hurt, out of fear of a lot of things. And so, but now these kids are grown. These kids are grown. They have an opinion. They have a right. They know what they want to say. They want to be heard. They have social media to back them in so many ways.
How are the parents stopping them now?
They're
They're
not,
not stopping.
because it came to a point where these kids were like, we're going. And
Okay.
it was one of those situations where I feel like a lot of these kids were like, we won't be like you. We want to learn from your mistakes. You were submissive.
That's what I said.
You were submissive.
I
you
told
were
my mom
scared.
your generation was a bunch of pussies.
Yep.
And then
And
I'm sorry.
and it's not to be mean. It's to say that in their.
It's because of the Soviet
Yep.
Union brainwash.
Yep. And it was
It's
one
the
of
brainwash.
those
She admits it. She's not a pussy anymore, but she admits it.
Yeah. And these kids said, no, we're going. We're going. Like this.
So, tell me when you joined in, what was that like? What do you do? Are you really just marching for hours? Like,
but
and during that
it's
march,
like,
you're dancing, you're drinking. Who's giving you guys water? Where do you stop and eat?
So,
what's going on?
So, there was also protests between two major supermarkets in Armenia, Sas and Yerevan City, because they are owned by the oligarchs of the parliament that are in parliament that should not be in parliament. People stopped shopping there. And when I say people stopped shopping there, I mean, those are the two main supermarkets. And I mean, Armenia, if anyone's ever been, there's plenty of like little stores, little food stores, like corner stores.
Mom and pop
like
shops.
Mom and pop stores, yeah. And so no one shopped there. Because
so where are you guys buying food?
Mom and pop stop places. And the mom and pop places would stay open extra long and open extra early to be able to provide for the people that they knew were purchasing.
Would you say that those mom and pop shops are actually providing you with organic foods versus the big supermarket that has like processed foods and all that stuff?
Oh God, yes. And when we went, and my brother, my sister-in-law, and all my cousins, we went, and we were there the day that the prime minister put in his resignation, and we all went.
You were there for that.
I was there. I was part of history. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I was there for that.
So tell me about that.
And for someone who is like you, I'm Armenian. I was born there. I was raised there, and then I moved to the States. When you land in that airport and you're Armenian, you're home. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I personally, I cry every time I land there. Like, it's home to me. It's where I was born. It's where my heart is forever and ever and ever. So to be there and to be part of that kind of history, where for the first time in any country post-Soviet Union, the people forced a resignation of a prime minister that was corrupt.
And got what they wanted. At that point, the people were just like unstoppable, right?
Backtrack for 2 days before. When Kachikyan was detained, I think the theory behind that detainment was, we're going to cut off the head of the leader, like hypothetically, not seriously. We're going to cut off the head of the leader, and the people are going to start dwindling, and they're going to be like, because I think that's where everyone knew for sure that this wasn't a ruse by the people either. The people weren't like celebrity, praising Nicole for what he was doing, even though they were.
Yeah.
It was about every man for himself. We are all fighting for the same cause. We're not fighting for a particular person. We are fighting for a cause. And
how do you think that culture was implemented? Like, who put that into the people's brains?
I think it's the
that
kids.
It's not about.
I think it's the kids. I think it's the youth. I think the youth was so fed up at that point that I'm so happy Nicole did it the way he did it, because he was able to gather everyone and make sure he said, like, at every rally, it was, we stay peaceful. I don't care how much they poke and prod you. I don't care if the cops, like, maybe make a comment there. Like, everything stays peaceful. You do not hit. You do not spit. Like, no rudeness, no nothing. We're just walking. We're taking our stance. And I think when a lot of people saw that, and I think when people saw that after he got detained, the people were pissed. And the people weren't pissed because they detained him. They were. But they were more pissed that the government was treating them like they're submissive idiots. And they were like, oh, hell no. And that's when the uproar, you could feel, I don't know how to explain this to you. You could feel it in your gut when the uproar just went, like, it was the craziest feeling ever.
But how does that uproar happen with no violence?
It was amazing. It happened because people knew that the government had already set out you know, military had already set out multiple cops, blah, 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 blah. They knew that they needed one person to screw up, and that would screw it up for everybody. And no one wanted to be that one guy or that one girl that like poked or prodded or said a bad word to a cop and gave him reason to be detained or gave him reason to cause extra drama. No one wanted to be that one guy that screwed it up for everybody. You're not talking about 1,000 people. You're not talking about 10,000 people. You're talking about tens of thousands of people that turned into over 100,000 people.
So when you're out marching, what are they doing during this time? Do they stop, hang out?
Yeah.
Do they keep walking?
You stop, you hang out, you walk. You call everybody you know, and you're like, hey, I'm at this place, come down. You wait, you meet more people. And it was so interesting because during multiple rallies, they were told, you guys, try to stay in large groups. Because anytime there were smaller groups, the police tended to go for those groups and either arrest people or poke and prod them because there weren't as many. And, you know, even Nicole at many of the rallies would say, stay in large groups of people. Multiple times. Like, stay in large.
And by the time you came back,
what
were how did the police treat the people by then?
So I came, so I was there for the day that that Sarkisian resigned. So we are in downtown Yerevan at that point, and it is utter madness. And I'll send videos when we're done. And it was madness. It was the most amazing feeling to be a part of history, first of all, and to be there for something like that when you know that all of these people, all of this unknown country was able to do something that so many other countries haven't. And at that point, I feel like everyone was so proud. And as Armenians, like, we know everyone has that, like, that temper. None of that existed throughout this whole time. There was none of that, like, oh, dude, get out. Like, there was none of that rudeness between the people.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
How were the women being treated?
So interestingly enough, when everything first started, there weren't as many women, and then everyone was like, women, girls, like, ladies, whoever, come out. Because in our culture, a lot of times women are told to, like, no, it's dangerous, like, it's okay, like, don't worry.
Yeah.
There was none of that. Because when you see a 16-year-old girl or a 20-year-old girl standing in front of the face of a guy who's a cop who's got all of his militia outfit on, and she's just standing there like, I am part of a peaceful rally. I'm not doing anything. I'm just here. I don't know how no other women would come out. Everybody came out. Young, old, women, men, children. It did not matter. This revolution did not have a race even. So, I don't know if many people know this. The Armenian Medical Institute, the university there, is world-renowned. Like, there's people from every race that study there. So to see people...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so to see people of other races who happen to be living in Armenia participating in protests because they are now a citizen of this country. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You're talking about this revolution knew no race, no age, no gender. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
And it's not over yet.
It's not
over yet. But what's the prediction?
I read
from the consensus from the people there.
The people want Nicole.
The what?
People want Nicole to be prime minister.
Yeah.
I think things could have been handled very differently after Sarkisian resigned. However, we all, I think, should have known and not have been so naive to think that his little dogs in parliament were going to go off like, oh, okay, well, he's gone, see you later. That wasn't going to happen. They're going to try to grip to power as long as they can, and that, I think that's obvious for any nation, for any government. People in power want to stay in power. Mm-hmm. I think they just kept waiting for the people to diminish, because they were strategic.
Yeah.
It was the 23rd of April when Sarkisian resigned.
Yeah.
The 24th is the commemoration of the Armenian genocide.
Yeah.
They were very strategic about it happening the day before.
Who's they?
Because their biggest Republican Party.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, they were very strategic about the way he resigned and the day he resigned, I think, because they were so worried because so many people from the diaspora and other countries who are not Armenian come to Armenia for the commemoration of the Armenian genocide. And they were so worried about, meaning the Republican Party and people in general,
being exposed,
were worried about being exposed to that kind of judgment and not being in that situation about the Armenian genocide is an important day to Armenians, and they didn't want that to be ruined in a sense by what was going on. And everyone
could we give the Republican Party I take it back. Could we give even the Republican Party or Tatevic Shakaryan, former prime minister, the benefit of the doubt that his willingness to walk away, again, there could be multiple alternative motives that they haven't shown their faces, but could we give them the benefit of the doubt that at the end of the day, they do want to see their people flourish. They do. They do genuinely want to, and they do not want to hurt their own people because of our long history with the Armenian genocide, that even during a shitty time like this, even they're like, we can't. We just can't kill our own people. We just can't. And I don't know, like a part of me is like, there is that sort of humanity there as well, you know? I think that as long as you don't touch their wealth, I think they'll just be happy. But it's come on, dude.
I think it was so important for them to keep that sanctity of what that day means to everybody.
Yeah.
That day is important to Armenians all over the world and to people all over the world, I hope. That's something you don't take away from the Armenian people. And for an Armenian to take that away from the Armenian people would have been catastrophic, in my opinion. And so the way that it happened, he resigned the day after, or the day before, excuse me. All of the, rallies and the happiness and the fireworks and all of that happened that night. It was literally a party. That's not even a joke. It was a party within the people. And then the next day, the commemoration happened. But I think everyone thought it was going to dwindle after. And it didn't. And that's
I think everybody thinks it's going to dwindle. It just keeps growing even more.
And that's what took everyone by surprise, was because the next day, right after the 24th, they were up and at it the next day. Like, let's go. He's done. Great. But what's next?
Okay, so that's my question to you now is, what do you think, what does it mean, New Armenia? What do you think means New Armenia? What does that mean?
Here's my worry and my optimism at the same time. I think because of the way that everything happened and the fact that people took a stand and the youth took a stand, I don't think any regime or any party, regardless of who it is that comes in, will ever look at Armenia the same, will ever look at Armenian youth the same. They don't care. Because when you and I had a quick chit chat, I told you the conversation amongst people and amongst me and my cousins, they don't want to leave their country. I love my country. I had to leave due to circumstances back then, but these kids love their country. They grew up there. They love the education system there. They love everything that has given them. Why should they? Why should you have to leave your homeland over a corrupt regime? Never. You want to leave? Great. Leave on your own terms, like because you want to, but not because you have to. And these kids want future in Armenia. It's a wonderful country. For those of you watching, if you haven't been, please go. It is beautiful. The people are so hospitable. If I could, it's a beautiful country, and if I could, even now, like knowing if I could have ever come from any other country, I still wouldn't have. I'm still Armenian, and I would always.
And how do you think the people will respond if Nikol Pashinyan, when Nikol Pashinyan becomes prime minister, and a year from today, he's doing an amazing job. They're literally rebuilding a new Armenia, and we see Nikol in a decent home that he has built for his family. How do you think the people will respond to that? Do you think they'll say, "Oh, they won't"?
I don't think they'll care. And it's not because it's Nikol. I think it's because it's like any system, right? You work for what you get, people respect that. You steal from people to get what you get, people don't respect that.
Yeah.
There, you know, it's one of those things, and I'm, you know, when I told you that there's like, I'm optimistic because things are changing and the youth and all this, power is such a strong motivator that I'm hoping it doesn't get to anyone's head, whether that's Kachikyan or anybody else that comes in. I don't see that happening, but I also feel like it's happened before to many different people in many different countries, you know. However, because of the fact that people saw all over the world, thanks to social media and the internet and people's support all over the world for what's happening, I think whoever comes into power now will know for a fact that this is a no bullshit society anymore.
What can be learned from Armenians that we can apply to violence in this country? We're talking about gun control.
Yeah.
Not a single shot was fired, has been fired since this revolution. Not a single gunshot.
Nope.
So I want to know, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Because
guess what? People in Armenia are allowed to buy guns.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like they're free to practice their Second Amendment. Not that their
right,
amendments
but
are, but you know, they're allowed to have guns. Not a single gunshot was fired. So what is going on?
Think about it this way. Not only is it that no shots were fired, no fights broke out amongst, you're talking about 100,000 plus people in one place of all different caliber of Armenian. Rich, medium, poor, woman, male, like, it didn't matter. Kids.
Okay, but kids. Here in this country, what are we doing? What's happening?
I think it's a respect issue. I think it's the fact that, you know, when you were talking, you were like, there's so many different kinds of people in this country. Yes. But interestingly enough, there were a ton of different kinds of people in 100,000 plus rally. So I think it's a matter of respect. I think it's a more of everyone has their own opinion. Great. And I can guarantee you that the people who are protesting right now, more than half are in support of Nicole being prime minister, but the other half are probably like, I don't know, he doesn't have that much experience. You know, everyone's got their own opinion. But I think in this country, it's a matter of people don't have respect for other people a lot of times. And there's not a communication. It's my way or the highway. I'm right, you're wrong. You want to talk about gun control? Are you kidding me? When you've got people in power, whether that be cops or whether that be a citizen, I don't care who it is, have the freedom to use a gun and there's no reprimand for it. This gets into a whole other topic, but I think what people can learn, back to your question, what people can learn from Armenia is that when you're there for a greater cause, you are part of all of this. It's not that, oh, you're right and all of these people are wrong, or you're the rightest of all of these people. No, you're there to make a life better, not just for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, for all the generations that are going to come after you. And I think so many people in Armenia right now have that mindset. Our parents couldn't do it for many of their own reasons. We have to.
Yeah.
Because when my brother, who also born in Armenia, raised in Armenia, grew up in the States for the rest of his time, got married, he moved back. And he flat out said, I will not raise my kids here. To each his own. But to think of, and now when he talks and we were there and we got to participate in all this, why wouldn't he? I worry to death about like the future of my kids here. We have, and thank you for Yvette for saying, we have a sense of that community. And it's not about, as Armenians, there's very many different cultures within the Armenian culture.
Yeah.
But again, that did not matter. That did not matter.
Yeah.
It was about
So
one
yeah,
whole.
you're right.
And, you know, and ego plays so much into it. And every culture has their egotistical things, and every culture is the same in their own aspects. There was none of that. There was no ego. There was no like, oh, like there was no, it was the most amazing thing to be a part of when you see that many people and they're like literally like tied up in each other because there's no room to breathe or walk. And yet everyone's like, oh, please, no, you first. Oh, no, it's okay. Like you're bumping into people and you're like probably hurting them.
And everyone's like, sorry.
Everyone's like, no, you're fine. Like, go ahead. It's cool. Because everyone knew what they were there for.
Yeah.
That's the
100%.
issue. That no one knows what they're here for. No one knows, like, you're fighting for one thing, but then you're also fighting for this other thing. Like, when you're part of that kind of a community and you're part of that amount of respect for each other, I'm not doing it for myself. My brother's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for his 3 kids.
Yeah.
He's doing it for 3 kids that are going to be born there, or that are that he's raising there.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know that he can do that.
Last question for you, because we got to wrap it up. But I was going to ask, so during these protests for hours, all day long, nonstop, people are out on the streets. What can we do from anywhere, you know, around the world? What can we do to contribute to help them so they, I don't know, in any way, like what do you think they would need or would help in support of their hard work?
The biggest support that was there, even during when I was there, was the fact that people from Armenians from LA, Australia, New York, Boston, Texas, Belgium, Spain, France, everywhere around this world, people were sharing, people were engaged in the conversation, and so many people from the diaspora participated. And for once in a really long time, I think the Armenian people who live in Armenia didn't feel like they were less than anyone who fled a long time ago. I think they felt for the first time that whether you're Armenian here or whether you're Armenian there or a million miles away, you're Armenian everywhere. I don't care. And it was the same feeling for me that, yes, I live here, but I'm Armenian. And to have that support from everybody, I think, is the best thing anybody can do. Sending money, sending gifts, none of that matters to anyone right now.
Yeah. No, it's just when you said they were boycotting the 2 only grocery stores, I was like, wait, what are they eating? Yeah. Where are they buying food
There's
from?
Plenty of places. There's, you know, and it's and it's like, you know, it's interesting the comment you made earlier. It's people helping people.
Yeah.
You want to talk about differences that countries can learn from Armenia, from a small country that no one ever really pays attention to, which is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
People help people. People put themselves in other people's shoes. The humanity of people is there. The respect, the love for people is there. Do people fight? Sure, everyone argues all the time. Every country has their problems. There is no perfect country. There is no perfect place. There is a place that is perfect for you, or that is perfect for each person. And I think the youth took that in their own hands and was able to make Armenia the place that to them was what's going to be perfect for them and their kids.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
So, such good insight. I will be in touch, new friend.
Yeah. I know, so random.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
This revolution, it's been unbelievable to follow. Wow. If you are watching on Facebook, please share this on your Facebook page so your friends and family can also see it and check it out as well. Okay, thank you so much, you guys, and I will see you on Instagram. I will see you on Facebook. I will see you on Twitter. Hit me up. Keep in touch, and I will see you next Wednesday. Mwah. Have a good night, and please share.